Hello there, you. How are you? I hope you're well. Welcome to the Richie Allen television show, brought to you in association with BeyondVision.tv and DavidIke.com. Hope you've had a great week. This is the show for the week ending Friday, June 10th. And there's lots to tell you. We're going to talk alternative medicine. We're going to talk vaccinations. Of course, we're going to talk about the European Union referendum, which takes place on the 23rd of this month. In fact, just under 2 weeks away from today. Well, it was 2 weeks yesterday, I suppose. My great friend and colleague Hayden Hewitt, the beheading man himself from livelead.com, will join me at some stage. He'll drop in whenever he feels like it to chat about the big stories that we're covering today. We didn't do the show last week, of course, because I was at the Medina Theatre on the Isle of Wight to see the Worldwide Wake Up Tour begin in earnest. That's David Ike and the DavidIke.com team, their Worldwide Wake Up Tour. David is visiting cities around the world over the next 18 months or thereabouts. Oh, the t-shirt, yeah, Hayden is saying put the t-shirt up, yeah. So here's the t-shirt, which I would be wearing, but it was kind of interfering with our colour dynamic in our virtual studio here. But look, I've given a full review, thanks Hayden, I've given a full review there of the event, which was basically 10 and a half hours of David, a presentation taking us way back to where it began, to what's been happening geopolitically in the last few months, the last few years, to where it's all heading and what we can do about it. It's tremendous, it's amazing. I say again, wherever you are in the world, if you can get to see David Icke on tour, go and see him. Go to the worldwidewakeup.com. So that's all the W's, the worldwidewakeup.com. He's in Brixton in London in again a week tomorrow. It's a week tomorrow, so go and see him there if you can. There are tickets available still to see him at Brixton. Great stuff. And as I said, there's a full review and a vox pop on my YouTube channel for the radio show. Go to youtube.com and look for that. Hey, let's have a look at the headlines, my friend. Big headline this morning. European Championships, of course, kicks off today. France plays Romania at the Stade de France tonight at 8 p.m. BST. That's 9 p.m. Central European time. But there's a kind of disappointing story in the Daily Mail today. Well, it's everywhere today. French police have reportedly had to use tear gas on English fans in Marseille after violent clashes broke out when supporters started singing "ISIS, where are you?" allegedly. Riot police and other police used tear gas and baton charges after fighting broke out beside two bars where hundreds of supporters had spent Thursday drinking in the French city of Marseille, the Old Port area. Local French youths are apparently are supposed to have attacked English fans who had massed outside the Queen Victoria pub and O'Malley's, an Irish bar next door, before England played their first game, which is against Russia on Saturday. There's a lot of fear around the tournament, and I've been talking to Hayden off air about this. What staggered me this week was to learn that the French authorities, the Interior Minister, has presented football fans from around Europe with a terror app. I shit you not. And Hayden might be able to bring this up on screen here. It's called SAIP, the SAIP app. And what it is basically is you download it to one of these or to one of your tablets. There it is there. And you leave it on, and you leave your location finder on, and you basically walk around France. Apparently you walk around France crapping in your trousers like this, waiting for the app to tell you that something is going down, that you better take cover. This is absolutely horrendous. And I tell you something else, I've been making radio programs since 1998. If somebody had said to me in 1998 there will come a time when people will be carrying phones around with them, waiting for the government to alert them when it's not safe to go outside, or when they should put their head between their legs and kiss their arse goodbye, I wouldn't have believed it. This is incredible. A football magazine, Hayden, a men's football magazine, had a story about the Euros, and they had this picture of football fans on one side and what is apparently a jihadi terrorist on the other side. Look at that. What's that all about? Surely this is a celebration of coming together as sovereign nations, as independent nations, and fans from independent nations coming together to have a bit of crack for 3 or 4 weeks to watch a game of football. But no, this is what you're getting from the French authorities and from the European authorities, from Interpol and all of that. I'm going to make a suggestion. Jump in anytime you want.
I just say you're actually mocking the Caliphate's leading goal scorer.
Was that the leading goal scorer? Was it right there?
The leading goal scorer of the Caliphate, right there.
Yeah, I wouldn't be surprised, mate. I wouldn't be surprised that somebody would say that. Look, I said this to Hayden earlier on. I've been watching football and talking about it for years and years and years. The last time there was a serious problem with English football hooligans was in France, ironically, in 1998 during World Cup 98. And ironically, the problem began when England played Tunisia in Marseille, and the problems began after that particular game, which England won. Such an anorak. I can tell you what the score was, and it scored Alan Shearer, Paul Scholes. It was 2-0 to England. And after that game, you had a lot of trouble between England fans, running battle with the French police. It made news headlines for weeks afterwards, back in 1998. Now, since that particular event, through control orders and banning orders, the football authorities and the police in England have been able to ensure that when England play football abroad, these guys don't get to go and seize the tournament. Not only do they not get to go to France, but they get their passports taken away from them. Most of them have been banned from football grounds all over the world for life. Who made the decision, I wonder, to send England fans? A lot of these guys look middle-aged. They look my age, 40, 41, a bit older. Who made the decision to base England for their first game at this tournament in Marseille? Who would make that decision? With any brain in their head, would put them in that area, knowing that there are a lot of far-right groups in Marseille, a lot of these Marseille ultras, these crazy Marseille, which is obviously a very big football club in France, guys who support that particular team. Who would make that decision to put them there, I wonder? And when you look at a lot of these guys in the newspaper article Hayden showed a few minutes ago, these aren't young football fans who've decided to go over there and kick off. These are guys that look like they have a bit of previous with causing trouble at football matches. You're a conspiracy theorist, Alan. Well, I wonder. Following football, supporting football and following your national team is kind of one of the last places where people can express nationalism these days, or a sense of nationalism, or a sense of national pride. And in the fortnight where the European Union referendum is going to take place, I wonder did somebody say it wouldn't be a bad idea now to have a few yobs kick off in Marseille. Now, Hayden, you're the most sceptical guy when it comes to conspiracy theories, but this one has a kind of a bit of perverse sense to it, doesn't it? How the hell could they allow these? Why would they put them in Marseille, number one? Why are so many of these guys middle-aged? These are mature adults kicking off, threatening the police, giving all of this, all of this nonsense that we've seen before. How did that happen? Why were they allowed to get pissed outside an Irish bar?
There is another option here.
Yeah.
There is another option that manipulation of the media and events is a well-established thing. It's a thing. And what we might have, in truth, is half a dozen people doing this. I mean, we've got to play devil's advocate.
Right, yeah. That's also very feasible.
We've seen the opposite here with protests when they said, aren't you disappointed at the turnout? But if they moved the camera 12
slightly
degrees that way, they'd see the thousands of people.
Yeah. BBC do it all the time.
Of course they do. I think we're seeing a lot of media management because, A, it plays into the stereotypes is popular. Sorry, I'm absolutely steaming in here today.
Yeah, steaming hot, I'm the same,
It plays into the stereotype. We know the police are ridiculously heavy-handed, even with our less horrible fans. And he sells newspapers because people here love to be disgusted more than anything else. So I think there's got to be an option there for that as well, complete media manipulation that everyone will buy into, including the people that go out there who perhaps aren't the most gifted in terms of intelligence, thinking, right, we've got a war on, lads.
It's as feasible. What you've just said there is just as feasible as what I've said.
It doesn't exclude what you've said in any way, shape or form.
No.
But whether it's opportunism or a plan, it's going back to business as usual.
I think you've made a good point, and it might be more feasible what you suggested actually. And ultimately, what it is, it then when nationalism, they equate nationalism with that basically, with those thugs. What a wonderful time to be doing that when we're talking about nationalism and a sense of national identity here in England. I think it's disgraceful.
Although to be fair,
yeah,
we may lose the Euros. But there's one prize we always win at big tournaments: worst fans.
The worst fans,
unless we're playing Turkey.
Well, it's
usually.
tragic because, like I said, that image had completely disappeared from
and it's
England
coming back
football
to
fans
but
travelling abroad.
To be fair, it seems to be sneaking back into the
Lower
domestic,
leagues.
domestic game, including Premier League. We've seen it at Man City.
We've seen it here, haven't we?
Seen
at
it
the
at
Derby.
City and Old Trafford.
There's been idiots at the derbies.
A match with Everton. Some City fans behaved appallingly. It seems to be coming back, but is that because we're returning to a more disenfranchised time as we did in the 70s and the early 80s when hooliganism was a big thing? Is it because society is moving back in that direction?
I think you're onto something, mate. I think you're onto something. When you beat people down and you use the Hunger Games society to destroy people, destroy their lives, people get angry. I think you're onto something there. The final thing we'll say about this is, in the Daily Mail as well today, there's an excellent article from Martin Samuel. He's their chief soccer or football correspondent. And I can't see the headline there. Euro 2016 is weighed down by security, but this show must go on despite joy missing. It's a brilliant article. I read it this morning. What Samuel is basically saying there is that basically it's a joyless exercise. And again, we're the conspiracy theorists. But look, what we're doing here is putting forward a point of view that you won't hear on mainstream media. Take it or leave it. Again, I would suggest this is a massive programming operation, and it's also a massive drill. Let's see just how much we can inflict on people without them getting absolutely apoplectic about it and kicking off. Let's see how much control and misery we can put on people. I understand when England play Wales. Neither of the sets of fans will be able on the day of the game to have a cold beer anywhere. Why? I'll tell you why, Hayden Hewitt. They want to see how far they can push people. It's a massive experiment. This totalitarian tiptoe Ike talks about. How much will they put up with before they say enough's enough?
Well,
imagine that, Hayden.
Would you like
One
to
or
hear
two
another
idiots, right? We'll get pissed.
Conspiracy.
Yeah.
Do you remember when the Rangers match happened down here?
Oh, mayhem.
The screen went off in central Manchester and riots erupted and they were trying to disperse and again, it's only hearsay, so you believe me, not believe me, I really don't mind. I heard from a source reasonably placed to be truthful if they decided that it was actually a decision to turn that screen off. Now
You better be careful, my friend. You're starting to sound dangerously like a conspiracy theorist.
This is what I have been told.
And your source has not lied to you before. It's a credible source.
No, the source
right?
is a certainly a credible source, a very reasonable person.
By the way, set the scene for our viewers because they won't know. Manchester City Centre is a wonderful place. For years, there was a massive BBC screen in not far from
Piccadilly Gardens.
From Piccadilly Gardens, huge, lovely area for people to sit out, have a couple of cans of beer. We've often watched things there over the years, different stuff, cricket and stuff. And you're saying that somebody made the decision to annoy thousands of Scottish football fans who've been drinking the old Tennent's all day long.
Yeah, they
turn the screen off.
Allegedly.
What could possibly go wrong?
The screen was because there was a lot of people gathered in one place, and the idea would be to disperse them to places like the Velodrome, where they could watch it. But the problem is, the Velodrome, if you go by tram, I suppose, is about 10-15 minute tram journey.
Yeah, it's a half an hour walk.
Sounds okay, but trams only work on 2 units here.
Yeah.
Trying to disperse thousands of drunken people that are basically, they've only just finished pissing up the side of a bin. You know, it's like, right lads, we're turning the telly off. I'm amazed at what happened next.
I submit to you, my friend, and I know you won't agree with this, that the person who made that decision knew damn well what would happen next, and that's what it was all about.
And I don't remember the name of the person concerned, and nor would I repeat it at this point in time. If it is true that the person that I was told made this decision did make this decision, there is no way they could not have known what that was. No way. It's impossible.
You heard it first on the Richie Allen television show when we had that trouble at that UEFA Cup final a couple of years ago here in the city. I wasn't here, I was in London at the time. They made a decision here to turn the big screen off in the city where thousands of Rangers fans without tickets, no problem. That's what happens at big football events, guys. Well, I'll go along for the crack anyway. Enjoying themselves, having a few beers. Somebody decided to mess with them and turn the screen off. As Hayden said, you know, what else could happen other than a riot? Moving on. Britain is better placed to fight terrorists outside the European Union, the Security Minister has said. The man is called John Hayes, writing in today's Telegraph, said the EU is guilty of grand scheming and trying to appropriate power instead of doing the job in hand, of course. Although he is known to be a supporter of Brexit, he reveals his reasons for voting leave as he warns that the European Union is too rigid to deal with the pan-national terrorist threat. The EU doesn't want to deal with it. Angela Merkel says, let's open the doors to over 1 million people. Let's not check who they are. Let's not screen them. Let's not ask any questions. If anything happens in Germany, like women being assaulted on New Year's Eve by gangs of men that nobody have any idea where they came from, put it down to Angela Merkel opening the doors. Of course Britain is better off managing its own borders and saying who can come in and who can't come in. Should it choose to leave the European Union, as please God, if there is a God, it does choose in 2 weeks' time. It's insanity. It's insanity. David calls it an inversion. You know, basically saying that black is white and red is yellow and pink is blue. And people believe it. How can May and Cameron convince you that you're better off with open borders, with free movement of people, at the same time telling you there's a massive terror threat against the British people, but we're better off if there's free movement of people? It's mental, isn't it? It's insane. I want to say something else about that. I interviewed the economist Martin Armstrong on the radio show last night. Martin's got a checkered past. He's had an amazing life. He's been in prison. He was sued for fraud by the SEC. He's had an amazing life. But he's predicted financial crashes and financial trends successfully for 30 years. Martin Armstrong is saying, well, I tell you, Hayden Hewitt, Martin Armstrong is saying that his friends in capital, working within capital and finance in London, they're saying that if Britain votes to remain, they're getting the fuck out of London. That all this nonsense about billions being taken out by venture capitalists and by money managers based on the idea that Britain will leave is utter bollocks. That the money men and the money women, the investors, want Britain to get the hell out of Dodge, but this has not been reported. Martin Armstrong said that to me last night.
Did you see the letter from the chairman of I think it was the chairman of JCB?
Oh yeah, he's saying come out, isn't he?
No, well, what he was saying, actually, he was a lot more reasonable in what he wrote, was vote however you wish. I'm voting to leave the EU because I believe it would be better for our country. This is the guy that runs a fairly large company.
Yeah, it's a big company, yeah.
But he at no point said, you should too. He said, just make sure you vote. That was his overwhelming message.
Fair enough.
The amount of attack he got because he is someone that supports Brexit, the amount of criticism he got for only telling people to vote, and yet there's other companies actively telling their employees to do this or vote a certain way, and this has gone on forever. People are acting like it's new for Brexit. I remember with the Labour leadership, my wife's union wrote to her saying vote for Ed Miliband, not David.
Go on.
Vote. We recommend, we are voting, you should vote Ed. And this has been going on forever. But it's amazing how one guy pops out on the Brexit.
And he gets hammered, yeah. I know we hate saying that.
But he gets absolutely hammered for it. So
they're terrified, mate.
Yeah.
The cabal is terrified. You and I both know that. We'll leave that there because we're going to come back to the European Union shortly. And a friend of the radio show is a woman called Anne Selly. Anne, hello, how are you? Sent me this story this morning. It's on RT.com today. It beggars belief, this. The headline itself, you don't expect to read it on any newspaper anywhere in the world. Canada's top court rules all non-penetrative sex acts involving animals are legal. Canada's Supreme Court has acquitted a British Columbia man of bestiality charges as under the country's laws, a sexual act with an animal can be found unlawful only in the case of it involving penetration. The man, known only by initials DLW, convicted of 13 counts of sexually assaulting his two stepdaughters over a 10-year period, has successfully challenged a separate count of bestiality, which, as it turns out, requires penetration for it to have been illegal. The decision that was supported by all but one of the justices. Who are these sick bastards? Who are these sick bastards? All but one of them supported it, acquitting him of forcing the family dog to take part in the sexual abuse of his stepdaughters. We're just going to move on. What else can you say? I hope PETA find the guy and do what PETA does, which is make his life a living hell. And I'm a hypocrite for saying that, because I've been critical of PETA in the past, what they've done to Huntingdon Life Sciences employees and stuff like that. They can be really, really awful. But for this guy, we'll make an exception. Find out who DLW is and torture him. Right, we're going to start with a letter. Now, I'm going to be honest with you. He says as he finds the letter, because I have to read it from this. From here on in, this is going to be very subjective. This is my opinion, and my opinion only. But something I've covered a lot on the radio show. My esteemed colleague and friend has different opinions to me, and he expresses them on his own programmes, and he will continue to do so. This is my opinion. This is a letter that was sent to a woman called Maria Ahmad. She sent it to Claire Calvi, my radio producer, who sent it to me. It was sent by, and I am blind, by the way, so forgive me, Mrs. S. Sheridan. Dear parent guardian, I note from our records that your child is overdue his 1-year immunisations. As he is shortly to be called for his preschool immunisations, it is urgent that we catch him up on those he has missed first. As you may be aware, some of these preventable diseases can be devastating, even fatal to unprotected children, and with a changing and large population, such as we have in Southend, can quickly affect children with little or no immunity to them. For this reason, here's the rub. We are obliged to contact Child Health Department and any social services or health visitors involved with children who remain unprotected. I would be grateful if you will contact the surgery on receipt of this to make an appointment to see one of our nurses as soon as possible. Blah, blah, blah. Yours sincerely, Mrs. S. Sheridan, Nurse Administrator, Queensway Surgery in Southend. How about that, eh? Get the vaccines, or we're calling social services. This is a tyranny, people. This is a tyranny. Now, I understand there are a number of groups on Facebook run by concerned parents, not run by conspiracy theorists now, not run by conspiracy theorists, but run by women, predominantly women, whom have, for one reason or another, decided they don't want to vaccinate their children because they believe that to overwhelm the immune system of a baby, a child under 2 with lots and lots of vaccinations, could cause serious problems to that child in the future. You have never heard me say, here or on the radio, that any child getting a vaccination is automatically going to be sick or is going to suffer from it. I've never said that. I have said, and I will continue to say, there is an abundance of evidence that some children become unwell having received vaccinations. Of course, this has never been discussed. There's been no health impact study of it. Governments and pharmaceutical companies don't want to talk about it. What you see there is, I interviewed a woman this week who's a former secondary school teacher. She's now a chaplain, Brett Western Jones, a wonderful woman who talked to me this week about dealing with the threats. So it's solution-based radio. She talked about how to deal with the tyrants when they start threatening you with social services because you're not happy vaccinating your child. Now, I'm speaking to those people who have vaccinated their children and who want to vaccinate their children in the future. You absolutely have the right to do that. You absolutely have the right to challenge me and any other presenter in the independent media and say you're full of shit. Absolutely. We're supposed to live in an open, a free and a democratic society. That's what we're supposed to be doing. And I'm raging at this now, as you can probably tell. How dare somebody threaten a mother or a father with reporting them to child protective services because they don't believe in vaccinating their children? It's an absolute outrage. So I'm not going to waste your time talking about the overwhelming evidence, as I said, that they might or can have serious health consequences for some children. I'm just going to refer you to the problems in Ireland, the problems in Denmark and the problems in Spain with one vaccination, and that is the HPV Gardasil vaccination, where thousands of parents in Ireland, not exaggerating, by the way, not an exaggeration, thousands of parents in Ireland are reporting severe health problems with the young teenage girls who've had that particular vaccine. But you see, we don't live in a fair, open, free, democratic world where we can discuss these things. Pharmaceutical companies have made it so that they can't be sued for vaccine injury, let alone even discuss it. Find out who Andy Wakefield is, find out about the Vaxxed movie, and find out about, thanks for leaving that up there, Hayden, find out about William Thompson. What we're seeing, I think, is a kind of a medical fascism. imposed by local authorities in league with central government. In the States, for example, in the United States, people have been banned from jobs. They really have. Again, we don't do bullshit here. You can find this online. Banned from jobs for refusing immunisations, healthcare jobs and working with children. How could that be possible? How could the unvaccinated impact the vaccinated? I don't have any problem with somebody vaccinating themselves or their children, but how could an unvaccinated person be a danger to them? It just makes no sense. And I'm going to put a story in and then I'm going to leave it because this is a rant, right? And I accept it's a rant. And it's the story from the Mail it's about cervical cancer. It's the story of the girl from Bury. And I'm going to read you this story. A teenage girl has died 5 days after being given the cervical cancer jab. Doctors dismissed her illness as a stomach bug, even branded her a lazy child before sending her home. She's called Giselle Zaman. She was 13. She had a severe headache, vomiting and dizziness after having the HPV vaccine, which there's a huge problem with. Now, I know pro-vaccination campaigners are quite right to say, well, Richie, you shouldn't hammer all vaccinations when maybe just one particular vaccination, HPV, might be causing problems. Why throw out the baby with the bath water? Again, I'm not a conspiracy theorist, independent media lunatic. I understand that. What I'm saying is no health impact studies. They rush these out every year. 5 more, 5 more, 5 more. Some children getting 20, 25 of them before they're 3 years old. It's insane, I say, without finding out what sort of impact they're having on people. She died because of it. The family are convinced it was because of the HPV vaccination. Convinced because they're hearing the same stories in Ireland, in Scandinavia, and as I said, in Spain. But apart from that story in the Daily Mail, the media doesn't want to know it, you know. Don't hold your breath waiting for a lawsuit. The family of the girl in Bury can't sue because the companies that manufacture this shit are immune to it. And they spent hundreds of millions of pounds around the world lobbying to pass laws to guarantee their immunity. Now, why would they do that? And that's all I'm saying on that, okay? I'm giving you the option to have a look. You have a look and make your own mind up. I will never inflict my opinion on anybody else. I would never tell any parent, you shouldn't do this, you shouldn't do that. Like I said, there's a lot, you know, there are hundreds of thousands of children around the world who will get a vaccination and who won't become ill from it. I've no doubt about that. But there are lots who will. Let's find out why. Let's do that. Let's do the decent thing. Hayden, staying with health, I know you're interested in this. We'll get to the EU in a minute, but we're going to talk about Noel Edmonds. Oh, Noel Edmonds. Noel is the greatest cliche monster the world has ever known. And that's why he's been a terrific television presenter and radio presenter for years. Noel will drive you mad when you watch Deal or No Deal. Take the walk of wealth. Sit in the crazy chair. There's no cliche that he won't use to describe anything. He's great, isn't he? Old Noel. We like Noel. Swap Shop, the Late Breakfast, Noel's House Party.
I grew up with Noel.
We grew up with Noel.
But also, I love the
Telly-addicts.
fact, what other human being could take... I mean, I'm sure other comedians have covered this, other people have covered it.
Yeah.
But what is inherently a show about opening random boxes.
Oh, it's brilliant, yeah.
And then turn around and say to someone, so what's your plan?
Pretty well.
What's your strategy to randomly open boxes?
Yeah.
And
he loves it.
People go with it because whatever you say about Noel Edmonds, and many people have many things to say about, he's an absolute consummate professional. Consummate professional,
terrific broadcaster, and loves what he does.
Oh, yeah.
And loves people.
No two ways about it.
Yeah. I've never met Noel Edmonds, but there are certain broadcasters who love people and love being around people, and he's one of them. For anybody who wants to be a broadcaster anywhere in the world, you have to like people. If you don't, forget about it. He does. Look, big story this week. We're interested in it. Number of newspapers reporting yesterday and Thursday that Noel is standing by his beliefs that cancer might be caused by negative energy. He was on the This Morning programme on ITV on Wednesday. We'll see a bit of it in a minute. During which he said he believed that a stressful period in his life led to him being diagnosed with prostate cancer back in 2013. He sparked a backlash, according to the newspapers, when he claimed that a 2,000 medical device pounds a device tackles cancer. Hayden, we might have a tweet of the device, have we? Have we Noel's tweet? We have. So that's the device there. It emits an electromagnetic pulse, is what it does. And Noel said that he's pretty convinced that that played a big part in shrinking and ultimately ridding him of the tumour, the prostate tumour that he had. A lot of people don't like that, and that's fair enough. Like I said before, everybody's entitled to their opinion. What happened was, Noel posted this and a Twitter user said, it's quackery. Now, the Twitter user had kidney cancer, so Noel might have been better advised not to say to the guy that his cancer might have been caused by his negative attitude. That was a bit stupid, really. I wouldn't go along with that. I would not go along with that. I don't think a negative attitude can make you ill. But maybe negative experiences and very bad experiences, well, maybe they might, lower your immune system and might leave you open to stuff. That's possible, right? We can say it's possible. But I wouldn't have said to the guy with kidney cancer, I wouldn't have said that. It's poorly advised there, Noel. Give me 1 minute, mate, and then you come in. You can go off on this, right? Because we're going to show the clip now. Philip Schofield and Holly Willoughby interviewed him. Schofield handled most of the interview. Noel said that, I was kind of getting at something else. I really wasn't trying to say that his negative attitude gave him cancer, even though he did really say that. The television presenter opened up about his own cancer, and strangely enough, it coincided with the birthday of his father, who had died from the same disease in 1990. Let's have a look at how the clip went anyway.
The point here is there is information available to all of us who inquire. When I found out I had prostate cancer, I started to get out there and ask as many questions as possible. I changed my diet slightly, I exercised in a different way, I got a very small group of friends, some of whom experienced cancer, one of whom has defied the NHS by living a lot longer than was predicted. And I was in a position that I was able to carry on doing TV shows and be healthy. I then had my tumour destroyed by sound waves, proving yet again that energy is at the heart of this issue.
The thing is that there are some fairly top people who've come out here and said, hang on a second, let's just clear this up, because cancer research specialist David Grimes at Oxford University says it's not just untrue, it's patronising and it's victim blaming. Cancer is bad luck. You can reduce or increase your chances by making different lifestyle choices. But the healthiest people in the world get cancer, and it's not because they are negative.
I thought, very, very healthy. I know why I got my cancer, because I'd gone through a very stressful, very negative period in my life.
So the stress in your life gave you prostate cancer?
Yes, because stress is negative energy. The definition of stress is a breakdown of your body engineering system.
I don't care what Cancer UK says about Noel Edmonds or any of these other charities that harass you unmercifully when you walk through Market Street in Manchester, asking you to sign up for monthly donations to find a cure for disease that I believe, because I'm a conspiracy theorist, is eminently treatable. I have to believe that. Retired doctors and oncologists whom I've interviewed for years endorse Edmonds' contention that A, very negative experiences might make you and can make you ill, and B, that there are treatments for these, but they have been overlooked or ignored or suppressed by those who stand to benefit from using certain treatments that, well, again, we've gotten into this before. There's no point in going down this road. So Schofield goes after him. That's what the mainstream media does. They're not really interested in asking a very, very salient question, which is, I wonder, will there be clinical trials on this box and on electromagnetic pulses? Because that's, the $64 million question, really. It's what we should be concerned about, not calling people quacks and lunatics. All right, Noel, interesting that it helped you with your prostate cancer. Let's lobby or let's campaign for there to be clinical trials. No. This is what happens.
But the problem is, Noel, that this is all surrounding a machine that costs £2,315.
No, it isn't. No, it isn't.
Well, it is because...
No, Phil, you're wrong.
No, I'm not wrong.
The science of pulsed electromagnetism has been around for a couple of hundred years.
No, I get that. A simple box that slows down raging, reduces pain, lifts depression, stress, tackles cancer. Yep, tackles cancer. That's the box you're talking about.
Yeah.
That's it. 8 minutes and you feel ready for another exciting day. Yippee. And then you say what it is.
Did for me.
I get that. But obviously people are going to get a little bit sceptical with the fact that you keep banging on about this £2,300 box, well, you know the people who were making it.
Well, yeah, of course I do know. Now I do know Sam and Steve, who are two brilliant practitioners.
You say now you do know. Didn't you know before?
What do you mean, before what?
You said now I do know.
Yeah, I do know them. They are both osteopaths.
Schofield is a pretty shameless whore, right? Because to try and muddy the waters in that way about Noel's relationship with the guys who created the box, it's pathetic. Obviously, the guys came to Edmonds with the box when Noel had been pretty public about having the prostate cancer and said, try this, to try and allege there's some sort of conspiracy that Edmonds is part of the, I suppose he benefits in some way financially from the sale of the box. It's kind of cheap and silly. But anyway, look, that's what they do. I'm going to say this, then Hayden's going to have his say, because I want to get Hayden's say on this. Nigel Farage said this week on an ITV European Union referendum debate, and he didn't go far enough. I'm quoting him directly, Farage. I'm not being cheeky with this at all. This is exactly what he said word for word. I'm not wholly happy with the way much of the pharmaceutical industry has changed. I see their lobbying in Brussels, and I see the way they've been very good at putting out of business people producing alternative medicines. Hayden, I know you took a big interest in this story this week as well.
Yeah, I did enjoy that while I was watching the... it's not often I enjoy much of what politicians in general have to say. In fact, harshly it sounds, the only thing I've enjoyed of Nigel Farage because he wasn't killed was his plane crash, because that still to this day amuses me greatly. Any Farage supporters, suck it up, I guess. But yeah, he was spot on. The lobbying in that industry is unreal. I just accused a Labour politician of being pro lung cancer because of the Tobacco Products Directive. I'm not going to get into the whole vaping thing. But
yeah, I get you. Yeah,
they're classing vaping as a tobacco thing,
which it isn't.
It's going to push thousands upon thousands of people back to smoking. Do you know who else has backed this whole product directive? Ash, the anti-smoking people, because they're very ill-informed. They don't realise you can take bits of a bill out. Oddly, the only people fighting it are Lords in the House of Lords, and they've been squashed down. So there you go. As for Noel Edmonds, I don't know if electromagnetic pulses cure cancer. I do.
Neither do I.
From what I do know, they in no way interfere with traditional treatments.
No.
Chemotherapy. So do both.
Why not?
Give it a whirl. If you've got cancer, especially at a late stage, another couple of grand, if you can raise it, spend it, because if it doesn't pan out, it doesn't matter anyway.
No.
Give it a whirl.
And historically, we know through Wilhelm Reich, and we know through
the theories
Tesla and others.
The
theory for years,
years and years.
So give it a go.
If it doesn't hurt you, it's like the baking soda one. As long as you're within reason, I've seen some recommendations online that were horrendously bad.
Yeah.
But if a small amount of baking soda makes you feel like you're beating it, great.
Yeah.
It's not going to interfere, and most doctors will say a small amount won't
kill you, and it's alkaline in nature.
If it works, brilliant. If it doesn't, you've lost nothing. You've not interfered with other treatments, which, like it or not, I know people in the alternate media circles hate the idea. Many people a year are saved from cancer by traditional medical pharmaceutical means.
You're right, and Ty Bollinger said this to me last night on the radio, and I was very glad he did say that. He's very honest, this guy. He said, yes, radiotherapy has proven in the past to successfully shrink and sometimes ultimately remove tumours. Problem is, it devastates healthy cells in the body.
Well, we need an alternative that isn't quite so dread. But if that's what we've got, that's what we've got at this point in time. If you're going to be pragmatic about it, which I like to be.
But why did the Cancer Act of 1939 in this country get passed and stipulate that it's absolutely illegal to talk about other treatments?
No, that was lobbying. That's plain and simple lobbying.
Of course it was lobbying. I'm not saying that. But there was also something, I believe there's something much more sinister behind that. It's big business.
Of course it is. Although I'm not by nature very conspiratorially minded, I'm also not blind.
Yeah.
And when it's as plain as the nose on your face, it's not a theory, it's there, it's in black and white. There's evidence of lobbying, of the amounts of money passed, the amounts of gifts given. There's evidence, there's proof, it exists. It's not a theory.
No, and I refuse to believe that a tumour's growth, which attaches itself to an organ of the body, I refuse to believe at this stage of our development as a species that we haven't discovered how to eliminate that. I just can't believe that.
I never will as much as every.
I'll never believe.
There's no one thing of cancer, is there?
No, there isn't.
There's no cancer.
But it's fungal in nature. Tumours are fungal by their very. This is where Simoncini is coming from.
Yeah, but
in Italy and people like that,
his
right?
theory. It's as yet needs a lot of peer approval.
Yeah, it's
And of
never going to
course-
get it to, is it?
Well, no, because and also that takes us down that rabbit hole of a never-ending circular argument of it must be because every big thing needs a big cause, and I leave that to the echo chambers of both sides because you can't chase that one down. There's no evidence of that being the case. There's a couple of people saying it. If they've been discredited, then it's another conspiracy. You can't win in these things. So my point is, if you believe his evidence of that is enough for you to believe it, that's fine by me. I'm unconvinced.
We're back to the
I'm not a
same
doctor,
chestnut, though. We're back to the
Yeah.
same chestnut, which
Everything
is...
must be investigated, but
Exactly.
there are-
And of course, our media won't look at a guy
But to
like
be fair,
Simoncini and...
We'll talk about the media in a second. There are finite resources in all research as well. So they can't research everything. That's another problem. That's a very real problem. Whoever controls the purse strings, that's another issue to get into. But there is a problem. But it is always worth saying, and I always point this out, we know the pharmaceutical industry is not nice. But the one pharmaceutical company that did come up with a conclusive, and I'm going to use cancer as a catch-all here because I don't want to just focus on one. All right, let's focus on one, make it more real. The one company that said we can absolutely cure lung cancer with this treatment. It's a treatment, it costs $5 million per go. We own the patent for 2 years.
How could anything cost £5 million per go?
Doesn't matter what it costs,
It
it's
does
what
matter.
they charge for it.
It's insane.
But this is what I'm saying. They would become, overnight, the biggest pharmaceutical company in the history of the world. If the one that came out...
I've heard this argument made 1,000 times, but I can blow it out of the water, that argument.
Yeah.
These companies collude with one another, mate. And ultimately they're answering to the same people. They're
Yeah,
answering to the
that's
same
the-
cartel in New York. You
Yeah,
know,
but then
I've
again-
heard this before. One of them blows all their... It doesn't work like that.
Yeah, well, that is a theory.
You don't think that Dunn Stores and Tesco's and what are they called? Asda, they don't collude on prices and on ways in which they won't compete with one another? They do, Hayden. They do, mate.
Yeah, but
This is
I
the
also
problem we have.
I guarantee, and this holds as much weight as any argument you've just put forth, that if Asda's came up with a supplier that could give them a product Tesco sell at £1 and they could sell it for 25 pence and still make the same margin markup, they would put Tesco's out of business like that.
What Tesco's would do is, and we've seen
Because it's happened before with supermarkets.
It has, but I'm going to tell you what happens because I've covered this on.
Oh, I know they
Radio in
have
Ireland.
agreements, but
Yes,
if one,
but not even the agreements. Tesco's will then say to the wholesaler, which will own, sister
they will
companies
force them
producing
into
exactly.
which is
We're
why
not
we
gonna-
have
that's
milk
the way it
farmers
works.
in the situation they're in.
Exactly.
But what if one of those companies could get an overwhelming advantage, don't for 1 second believe there's anything beyond their gentleman's agreement that wouldn't see them crush the opposition, take over their stores, and triple the profit margins for their shareholders.
As usual, we're going to respectfully agree to disagree,
Well-
and I'm not going to have the last word. We're just going to leave that
Now,
because.
so can I just say on
yeah.
Noel Edmonds though?
Yeah, Noel,
sorry,
yeah.
I just really want to get this out
No,
there.
no, good, yeah.
What's depressing about this is here's a guy, 67, had prostate cancer, got through it.
Yeah.
However he did it, if he was just singing Mary Poppins songs every day and said this is what worked for me, great. If he was just a member of the public that said, I used this machine and when I had another treatment, got rid of it, you'd go, oh, well done, mate, well done. But because he's a celebrity,
But people might listen to him, you see.
we're going to smash him into the dirt.
Yeah.
And even beyond that, they might listen. It's the money thing. We have this terrible culture now where celebrity is somehow expected to be a font of all knowledge. And I'm going to defend. I never thought I'd end up having to defend Noel Edmonds. He just gave his opinion.
Just giving an opinion.
He's
yeah.
a bloke who overcame something and has an opinion about how he did.
Yeah, and he's asking for it to be considered, basically.
That's all.
Consider this.
But because he's a celebrity, no, we're going to just hammer him into the dirt. And
also because they want to shoot it down here. They don't want to talk
look at
about it.
David Icke back in the day. We
Yeah.
know he was having a bad time. Or we've got a celebrity here that's clearly a bit unbalanced at the moment. He's got some pretty far out ideas. What should we do? Oh, I know. Let's get him on an environment which is incredibly hostile and grind him into the dirt. And that's what they're trying to do.
It's what the system does, yeah.
Yeah.
Because ultimately, I think the system knows, But anyway, we should take a really quick break, then come back and do some EU stuff, shouldn't we? Yeah, it was a quick break. When we come back, we're going to do a quick roundup of the EU news of the week, and then we're going to go because we're running over time. Back in a minute.
Attention small business owner, when is a box more than just a box? No! No! Oh no, that's just weird. A box is more than just a box when it can give you a couple of extra hours in bed, or at the very least some time to do something more fun and or productive than bookkeeping. Just bang all your paperwork in a box and we'll take care of the rest. Accounts Direct. Accountants on your side.
Welcome back. Shameless plug time. Shameless plug time. Check out the Live Leak television show every Thursday at 9 p.m. British summertime. Terrific programme presented by Hayden Hewitt and Wingman John. You've only got to go to liveleak.com and the link is on the homepage. It's brilliant. Hayden is these days presenting a terrific radio show every Sunday night for Fab Radio International. Go to fabradiointernational.com. It's at 9 p.m. till 11 p.m. every Sunday night and it's terrific. Wingman John, Hayden's partner in crime, joins them. They discuss a lot of things, take phone calls from around the world. It's a terrific late night radio programme, as late night radio is meant to be. I love it, and I really do love it. I've heard it a few times and I've gotten it on Facebook. DavidIke.com. Go to davidike.com/headlines. That's where all the news is. Great dissection of all the big stories in the independent and in the mainstream media. David is on tour. All the details about the Worldwide Wake Up Tour are there. He's in Brixton on the 18th of this month. That's a week tomorrow. Still a few tickets. Go and see me. Be crazy not to. And finally, all the details of my radio show are on richieallen.co.uk. Check it out. I air Monday to Thursday at 8 p.m. BST and I air on Sunday morning at 11 a.m. BST. And I've never been arrogant or I've never been one to kind of, pat myself on the back. We think at the moment we can credibly claim to be the most listened to daily independent radio show in Europe. There's nothing like it. Thousands are tuning into it. I have no idea why. I'm not being modest, but that's what they do. It's got a great social media following as well. Listen to it Monday to Thursday. Take part. Great thing about it, like my friend Hayden Hewitt, is that when you say negative things about it and the guests, well, you go straight to the top of the queue and we read your stuff out first. That's what we do, as the boy Hewitt does over there as well. 13 days to the European Union referendum. It was 2 weeks yesterday. The deadline to register was extended by 48 hours because the website crashed during the week with 2 hours to go. Why didn't they then extend it by 4 hours or 6 hours? Why did they extend it by 48 hours? Well, Vote Leave campaigners are pretty sceptical, as you might imagine. They say that while systems do crash, ask Hayden Hewitt, liveleak.com, one of the biggest websites in the world, things go wrong. However, with the polls showing that the Vote Leave side is neck and neck or slightly ahead of Vote Remain, some of the Vote Leave campaigners are saying that they smell a rat. Why? Well, I'll tell you why. Because the government, the British government is split, allegedly. Cameron, Theresa May, Philip Hammond and Michael Fallon, they're all saying, Britain should stay in. Liam Fox, who we'll hear from in a minute, and Boris Johnson and others say it should be out, but really they're all singing from the same hymn sheet, I believe, ultimately anyway. You wouldn't put it past them. They want to register younger people, students, 20-somethings who are working, because they think they're more likely to vote to Remain. So you wouldn't put it past them to stage the crash. I suppose there's no evidence that they did, and as I said, it might well have been a crash. One concern was that if we voted to leave, and please God we will, the cesspool that is the British Parliament would veto the public's decision. So Liam Fox, the Conservative MP, Dr. Liam Fox, posed this question to David Cameron at PMQs on Wednesday.
To Liam Fox.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, the beauty of a referendum is that every voter has an equal voice, every vote carries equal weight, and members of Parliament have no moral or political superiority over anybody else. Does my right honourable friend accept that the referendum is not a consultation, but an instruction to Parliament from the British people? And is it not therefore incumbent on all of us to accept in advance that Remain would mean Remain and Leave would mean Leave, and any attempt to shortchange or distort the verdict of the British people would be a democratic outrage?
I think my right honourable friend is absolutely right. Every vote counts the same.
We have asked the British people for their opinion, and we should treat their decision as an instruction to deliver. Now, I know many people would like me to be a bit more nuanced in what I think, to say there are two options, they both have some merits, it's a balanced decision. That might have made my life easier, but the problem is I don't believe it. I very strongly believe we are better off if we stay in, and that is why the government is saying so clearly to the British people, and I'm saying so clearly to the British people, better off, stronger, safer. But in the end, it is the British people's decision.
Yeah, so apparently Cameron has said there won't be any flip-flopping or attempting to keep Britain in the European Union should we vote to leave. I tell you what, Hayden Hughes, conspiracy theories are flying around since yesterday. Dr. Sarah Wollaston has thrown, that's Ikey's meme by the way, it's great. She's thrown a monumental grenade into the EU referendum debate. She's basically been campaigning to leave as Dr. Sarah Wollaston, but yesterday she's not. She's flip-flopped, to use the Bill O'Reilly term, very late in the game, the bitch. Why is that? I'm going to tell you why. Before I tell you why though, here she is on BBC Breakfast explaining why.
Why?
I think because of listening to all the arguments during the course of campaign, and also because I chair the Health Committee. A lot of people have been asking me whether the NHS will be better off or worse off if we remain or leave the EU, and I've really come to feel very strongly that we're better off staying within the EU. And I think the trigger, I think a lot of people perhaps watching this will have received their postal vote and found themselves actually staying their hand and thinking, really, what's it going to feel like on the 24th of June if I wake up and we've actually voted to leave? And I realised in my case that would not be a sense of freedom or liberation. It would actually be a sense that we'd lost something. So I think it was important to be honest about that decision and explain why.
You don't like that £350 million figure that has been touted by the Leave campaign, an extra £350 million weekly for the NHS.
Simply not true. That's the thing. And I've been telling Vote Leave this from the start. It's why I've not been really campaigning
so
with them on
platforms. So when did you first say that
right
was not true?
Right from the very beginning, I've said to them that they should describe it as a gross figure, that they shouldn't be implying that there'd be an extra 350 million a week, particularly to go to the NHS if we voted to leave, because it doesn't take account of the rebate and it doesn't take account of the money that flows back from Europe in the other direction. And as somebody who's campaigned ever since I arrived in Parliament for honesty about data in public life, I couldn't have handed out one of their leaflets or stepped on board a battle bus which had a knowingly misleading figure right at the heart of it.
Sound that big alarm, that big air raid siren, because it's bollocks alert. Absolute bollocks alert. They should have said it was a gross figure. They're not acknowledging the rebate, and when you wake up in the morning on the Thursday, the 23rd of June, in the cold light of day, and you're faced with it, you know, we might be better off in. This is lies. If you were that committed to leaving the European Union, based on what you know the European Union is, you might distance yourself from something being said by another Leave campaigner, but you'd hold true to your own belief, wouldn't you? We'll come back to that in a minute. We have a tweet from Sarah Wollaston, Hayden, don't we? I think we do anyway. This is a tweet that she sent to EU Commissioner President, whatever his bloody title is, Jean-Claude Juncker, where she says, quite rightly, basically you can stick your European Union army. Very much committed to leaving the European Union last week when she tweeted this. What's changed, Hayden? What's changed, I wonder? I'll tell you what I think has changed there. You mentioned to me a second ago while the clip was playing that you detest George Galloway. It's well known. You want Britain to leave the European Union for your own reasons. Galloway wants Britain to leave for his reasons. At no point would George Galloway's obnoxiousness, for want of a better word, to coin a phrase, in any way dilute your commitment to wanting to see Britain out of the European Union.
No, of course, it's irrelevant to me which one of those slimy no marks takes my opinion or somebody else's.
Yeah.
People say that, don't they? Look at who you're aligning with. You're aligning with Boris Johnson. You're aligning with George Galloway. You're aligning with David Cameron and George Osborne.
And Philip Hammond.
But George Osborne, the man who can't predict the budget he's paid to do every year, can't deliver, can't get it vaguely. He does it so badly, he has to send a junior out to be crucified every time he opens that case.
That leather satchel.
Every time he does that, someone's crucified, never him.
And he's coked up to the tits while he's
off
doing it.
his face in Parliament. And so, don't talk
Why are we
about-
laughing at that?
Because
we're sitting here now making a
else can you
television
do?
programme, and it's a joke that the Chancellor of the fucking Exchequer is coked up to the balls every day of the week.
Of course it's a joke. The whole thing's ridiculous. We're dealing with an establishment that openly hates us. From all sides. Don't give me this
Trying to
Corbyn,
fucking kill us,
this.
mate.
They're trying to kill the one good thing we've got in this country. We stay in Europe, we lose the NHS.
And look at this crazy
we get
fucker.
TTIP like that.
And look at that crazy fucker, Wollaston. Look at her, look.
Oh.
Right? Farage said on Question Time last night, and I'm no friend of any of these people. I despise political parties. I am absolutely against the idea of political democracy. Whatever rebate they might or might not give you, you start with the premise that you give them 350 million fucking quid. So forget what comes back or what doesn't come back. So it's not disingenuous to say, let's not give them 350 million quid. Let's use it to do other stuff. And you know what, Hayden? Before you come back in, she's not bothered by the fact that Tony Blair and John Major yesterday were in Belfast. I tell you what, addressing the people of Northern Ireland, basically guaranteeing that the Northern Ireland peace process will collapse upon leaving the European Union. And she's no problem with that. But I've got an issue with the figures. It was planned all along, my friend. I believe it was planned all along to destabilise the Leave campaign. You should have seen him ganging up on Johnson last night on ITV. I've no time for Johnson. He's an idiot. He's a buffoon.
They queued up for that.
Yeah.
They queued up for that.
Let's humiliate Johnson. Let's make it all about whether he wants to be Prime Minister or not. Let's talk about the issues. What's the size of the city? A city the size of Newcastle every year coming in here? That's not fucking racism. That's pragmatism to talk about that.
We
What do you
have
say?
finite resources. As
Of
a
course.
country, we have finite resources. Yes, we have to help those less advantaged than ourselves. Yes, we have to do this. That. We could save a
Stop
fortune.
bombing them.
I was going to say we could save a fortune by not bombing them first. But that aside, we've got problems here as well. Now, I get it. When I say that, we need to take care of our own poor. We've got people who can't even warm up the food they get from the food banks. I say this every week. I'm not going to stop saying it. I don't care how bored people get. I'm going to bang on about this every week. They can't even heat up the food they got from food banks.
Imagine
you know
that.
what? I want them sorted first.
Yeah, let's do that, yeah.
Let's do that.
Let's stop criminalising the homeless.
But then I get told...
Get them off the streets.
Do you know what I get the stock answer to that? You're a racist. So my answer is, I didn't say we only look after the white ones. I want to look after all our poor people. People. White, brown, green, purple, beige. I don't care.
Let's give our listeners permission to do something now. We're going to get kicked off now. But we won't be able to put this programme out now for saying what I'm going to say now. The next time you make a reasoned, measured and calm, articulate argument that opening the floodgates is a bad thing, and the person you say it to calls you a racist, unless that person is old, is a woman, is infirm in any way, punch him in the fucking mouth. There's your racism for you right there. It's got nothing to do with racism. Don't punch anybody in the mouth, by the way.
No, just draw a line down the face with indelible marker.
Think about it. Imagine it, but don't do it. Violence is wrong, children.
Yeah, absolutely. And maybe shave off that Hitler tash you've been wearing for
Yeah. Calling people racist for
you get it
asking
all
the
the
question.
time. You get it all the time because we become a polarised society. Left, right, good, bad, Tory, Labour, bullshit. It's all bullshit. All of it.
Do you know what we're going to finish on?
We got to finish on an up note because
We're going to finish on an up note. Pondering as you do there while I'm ranting away about stuff, about stories, you've not been able to get the RT story about it's not being illegal to sexually assault an animal. The Canadians have decided that the only way to sexually assault an animal is to have penetrative sex with it. That's given you an idea. So now it's occurred to you that something is legal in Canada.
Absolutely. Whilst Richie's been talking about important things, politics, that, and I've been here sweating, pressing buttons in the vague hope they do what I think they're going to do, I ponder important things too. And I think that if you're the sort of person that wants to train a monkey to wank you off, Canada is the country to move to, because they can't prove harm when you're not penetrating the monkey. So for all you monkey wankers out there, guys, Canada, just learn the pledge, speak a bit of French, quid's in. Important consumer advice. We're looking after people when we point out things like that. Just look, you have me on, I cheapen your show.
We'll
It also
see you.
works with bears.
We're gone,
not
we're
just
out.
monkeys.
We're going to leave. As Jeremy Clarkson said, God love him, who must be absolutely like a pig in shit these days, that Chris Evans' Top Gear is going down the pan, by the way. On that bombshell. Thanks for watching the programme. Thanks to BeyondVision.tv for making it. If any of the language offended you in any way, I apologise for that. We'll try harder next time. Don't punch anybody ever, by the way. That was a joke. We'll see you next Friday. Until then, enjoy your weekend and enjoy the rest of next week and all of that. Bye for now. Bye now.